set and go. Hello, everybody. I'm Josef. I'm a 3D designer at Puma, and let me show you what we do at Puma. This presentation is going to be structured into two streams. The one, as the name suggests, it's about sketching in Gravity Sketch, the co-creation mode, the collaborative work that we do in Gravity Sketch. And the second stream is going to be more about individual designers, their work, the projects that they finished a little bit further beyond the initial sketching. I will start with this stream of sketching and co-creation that we nicknamed Let's Sketch. Those are irregular sessions that happen quite randomly, but last week I've been in 3 of them. I've prepared a short introduction video that I think describes them the best. So here we go, a little teaser.
All right. Hello. I'm recording. What about you guys?
Okay. Yes, recording.
Recording. Shirley, are you recording? I can't hear you.
I got the red dots.
Amazing. All right. Panorama, are you recording?
Yes.
Let's do a quick last exercise.
Beautiful.
Are you guys done?
Yes, this is the time.
All right, here we go. As I mentioned before, there are co-creative sessions. Anybody can join them. We normally start with some simple skill exercise. So it could be something simple like here. With Funny Round, we just put a sphere in. We turned off the stroke correction, the edit points, and for 2-3 minutes, just try to make the sphere with the stroke tool as precise as possible, just to kind of warm up. In the video, you saw the filling of the donut with the volume tool. It's something rather simple, just to get into the mind of the Gravity Sketch or of working in the virtual space. The second assignment is normally a little bit more creative, but kind of out of the box. Like in the video, you have seen actual like a sketch relay. Here is maybe a crazier example of sunglasses for a cyclope, so a mythical feature with only one eye. And you can see it's something that is definitely not going to end up as a product, but it's fun to do. You have to solve a challenge that you have not solved before. It's in this virtual space. You're working in the 3D tool. it kind of opens one up to the work in the 3D space. And we normally end the session. The session's really varied in time, but let's say around an hour with something short, normally like a word visualization. Here we were drawing a deadly fish. Yeah, I enjoy those. I find them very quick, fun challenges to get used to the tool, to maybe see the new features that you don't normally use in the workflow, and improve, have fun with the colleagues. Of course, eventually, by using the tool, you start meeting outside of those co-creation sessions, also with the colleagues working on the projects that are maybe closer to the production or closer to the actual footwear that is going to be sold in the stores. Here you can see an example of a co-creative session that we have done with Matthias, where it was about Roghopper shoe. What I'm trying to illustrate here, it's the skill. The skill grows with the more and more sessions one does. We have been in the Gravity Sketch for, I would say, about 2 years, and this is an example of one of the first trials that we have done with Gravity Sketch. Those are very old sketches, and I just want to illustrate that it just becomes more and more natural as one practices. It becomes natural to present in the virtual space. It becomes fun to collaborate, and it does not have to be a final, perfect, detailed 3D model that you are walking around or discussing with your colleagues. Even further on this, maybe the polished final sketches are not the real testament to Gravity Sketch being actually another tool in the designer's tool belt. I would say doodles like this, and this is Lisa just waiting for us in Gravity Sketch before we join for another Let's Sketch session. She was a bit bored, and you can see that she read some bad news in the morning. You see the expanding sun, the burning forest, thick clouds, but angel of hope. It's really a doodle that you normally do on a piece of paper when you're bored in the meeting. And when you start doing this in 3D, I think it's a great testament of something is working. The tool is being acquired, and it is a serious skill that one can learn, one can use in the work as well. I'm not trying to say that there is like a path from this doodle, or a direct path from this doodle to some kind of a polished final result, as you can see here from Chris, his silicone runner, I believe, posted on his Instagram. What I'm trying to say in this first part of my presentation, that the more one goes into the Gravity Sketch, the more one plays around and have fun in those, even like a very short 5, 3, 20 minutes challenges. It hires the chance that something like this the sketch, I would say quite a finished sketch on the right side, ends up on your Instagram, in the portfolio, or ends up making it into the production. So Let's Sketch is the name of the session, but it's also imperative. Sketching brings us to the final product. And the final product is what I would like to talk about in those next slides. Individual work is something that is important because even though we work as a team at Puma, there are individual designers, and the individual designers stand behind the product, behind the footwear that they design. And many of them are picking up Gravity Sketch, are playing around with the virtual tools, are bringing it into the Blender and other software to define it further, or to render it or sculpt it in ZBrush. And I will present the work of those 6 designers. They are all over the globe. Daniel Shirley here on top. I think I have a laser pointer here. He's in Herzogenaurach, as well as Lisa Draxler and Faniram Lapet. They're all with me in the office in Germany. Danny, the head of design, he sits in Tokyo in Japan. Armpit, he works from India, from Bengaluru. And Chris works in Boston in US, of course. The first one from this team of gravity sketch enthusiasts in Puma, the first one I would like to introduce is Faniram. Faniram is quite active on Instagram. You can definitely search his work there. Also on Behance, some cool projects. So do not hesitate to check his work. Here I would like to present his NFT sneaker called Xetix. It is meant to be a virtual shoe, so it's not meant to be worn in the physical world. It's basically focused at metaverses. The shoe is inspired by the idea of cyborgs, of humans blended with technology, or human body blending with technology, as well as in this mathematically defined chaos. So something that at first sight looks very chaotic, but actually has a clear mathematical quotation or algorithm behind it. With the project, he started quite traditionally. You can see on the left side the 2D sketches here done, I believe, in Procreate. And on the right side, you can see the sketching in Gravity Sketch, the stuff that we are here for. And here is already the final result. I believe it should be moving, maybe not. It's just 2D visual then. It's a shoe that lives in metaverse. It's alive forever. It's digitally immortal. It plays with this notion of virtual worlds. The next in line is Armpit Hoda. He works from India, as I mentioned before. Please, again, search him on Instagram. There is much more work of him on Instagram or on his LinkedIn. You can see the trajectory that he has taken so far. I would like to showcase his project called Aqua Clock. Again, here you can see the classical 2D sketches that he has done on tablet. And then, quite rapidly, he would go to the Gravity Sketch. And when you look at this slide, you right away see quite a lot of details. Those details are not created in Gravity Sketch, but it's quite a smart technique that he uses. He builds the main body in Gravity Sketch, creates the volume, creates the not the details of the shoe, the form strip, for example, here. And then he goes into a Procreate and just adds this little shadows on the print screens or screen grabs of the model from Gravity Sketch. It works like quite a quick tech pack and brings one into the final result, such as this. This is a model that is a production-ready model from our factory 3D teams. They normally model in CAD software. I believe this would be Rhino, and then it is rendered in Maxwell. Yes. Carlo. Carlo is our third designer. He's in Boston. He's very active on Instagram. You might have seen some of his designs also featured on the Gravity Sketch Instagram stream. He's a footwear designer for Puma Sportstyle. He works on many projects. Many of them are unfortunately unreleased. So here I'm kind of just showing the overview of the project that you might already have seen on the Instagram page. He is building them all in Gravity Sketch and then rendering them further in Blender or in Keyshot. I believe on some of them he collaborates with outside artists to help him with the rendering or to do the rendering for him. My personal favorite is this Silicone Ultra Runner shoe that you have seen already earlier in the presentation as well. I enjoy the lines and the work of it, so please enjoy. Lisa Draxler. Lisa Draxler is a footwear designer also here in Germany. She's currently traveling through US, but she's very active on Instagram as well. So please follow her there. And from her, I would like to show a specific project that she has done for this presentation. And they are just, or I should not say just, but simply clever, I would say, the bubbles in the background. She just created a couple of spheres in the Gravity Sketch, gave them transparency through the settings in the layer, and screen grabbed it, and inserted as a background to her presentation to support the Zenith shoe project. It might appear as a very simple thing to do, but it's just refreshing. It's refreshing that the tool is not just used for stuff that you see all around on the social media, but for creative workarounds such like this. And the background can, of course, change throughout the presentation. She moves the spheres a little bit, takes a screenshot with a little bit different angle, and it supports the final visual. You can see here, this was like a series of shoes that she has actually also created in Gravity Sketch. And here you can see one of them on the mannequin. Maybe more of a traditional project that she has done is this Mayu Mule Inject slide. Here you can see the 2D sketches that she has prepared for the project. And then from that, she jumped into the Gravity Sketch and modeled the slide there. Again, quite smartly. The tooling is done for a shoe called Mayu. She just imported the 3D CAD of the Rhino tooling into it and modeled the upper on it. And as you can see, to quite a successful result. And here you can see the real sample on Lisa's foot on a beautiful Puma carpet. A project that made it into a proper sample round. Daniel Shirley. Daniel Shirley is a footwear designer for team sport at Puma. He also works from Herzogenaurach, from Germany. He's also very active on Instagram. I think this is a through line through all the designers. Please check out the Instagrams. There's even more work that did not fit into this presentation. His Instagram nickname is Hack Club, so follow him there. One of the most recent posts is actually work that he has done for Puma. It's this glass slipper that utilizes the feature of the digital space that the materials does not really have to make sense in the real world. So here you can see glass applied to a footwear which creates this exciting juxtaposition. I quite enjoy it. The second example is actually quite similar. It is a shoe made of concrete, or maybe a slide made of concrete and a glass form strip. He calls it heavily cushioned. It is an impossible shoe, but of course possible in the virtual world, possible in metaverse, to use the hyped word. And here it's spinning in front of us. Those examples are extreme. He uses it very much in his daily work as well. As I said in the beginning, he's a footwear designer for our team sport business unit. And here he has designed a couple of iterations of the studs for the football boots. They are actually coming out in the spring 23. So this is a sneak preview of the boots of from the next season. And again, very important. This is the daily work. The previous projects are cherries on top of the cake. Last but not least, Daniel Taylor is our head of footwear design for Puma Select. Here it's written Herzogenaurach. That's a mistake. He actually works from Tokyo, from Japan, and he's a great 3D enthusiast from the very beginning. I have been in Puma. He was always up for 3D experiments. This is one of his other projects that he did for creative direction, all done in Gravity Sketch, talking about the footwear. It's drawn in Gravity Sketch, then rendered in Blender, and put on the mannequin, as well as the apparel that has been done in Claw. Strong visual for our pre-season creative direction or creative kickoff. However, the project I would like to talk mostly about, his project, is this new shoe, Unreal H. He has done quite some time ago as well. However, it's now in the stores, or one can buy it. And not surprisingly, it actually started in a very classical manner with the 2D sketching. You can see on the left side, 2D sketching for the upper, and on the right side or in the middle, you can see a basic mood board with a couple of Puma style references. However, when the first sample came, it kind of lacked emotion, especially in the tooling part. It was kind of flat. He was not satisfied with the sample. So he jumped into the Gravity Sketch and remodeled the tooling. Here you can see the Gravity Sketch model rendered in Blender in comparison with the first sample that came. And he used this model from the Gravity Sketch to discuss with development, or to share with the development, to create a new tooling, new prototype that ended in the actual shoe, in the Unreal H shoe. Here on the bottom, you can see the CAD file from the development guys that was based on the file that he has created in Gravity Sketch. And as I have mentioned, the shoe is in the stores. There is a marketing photo shoot for it right here. I just looked it up before the presentation. It's on the Puma website. Everybody can buy it. It's a great testament that when one acquires the skill, when he or she plays enough with the tool, and in this case, the Gravity Sketch, it becomes natural to put it into the workflow, into the process of the design. And with this, I would like to recap the two streams that I've been talking about. I've been talking about this Let's Sketch sessions, the the co-creative sessions in the fluid virtual design studio of Gravity Sketch. And parallel to those, each designer or duos or a couple of designers together were working on individual projects, or are working on individual projects that sometimes make it into the onto the shelves, into the stores, such as this example of the Unreal H that is now available. I'm thinking what more to say. I would just say let's sketch, and I would leave you with this. Thank you for your attention. I'm very fast on time. I hope Daniel will join me now, and we can have some questions from the audience. I also know that some of the team members might be joining as the audience. Maybe we can pull them in, and if you would have some questions directly to them, they would be able to answer, I believe.
Yeah, so yeah, the PUMA team, if you guys want to kind of like raise your hand, we can bring you into the conversation. Thank you so much, Joseph. This was really amazing to see all the very different styles that all of the designers are getting through using the same tool, which is quite amazing. One question that I have is, where were they before? Like, have they already been using 3D in the past, or were there like more traditional 2D designers before and then started jumping into 3D? How was their evolution?
So I don't think this applied to all of them, but I mean, it's the story of the curiosity, right? So many designers have been trained in this 2D 2D workflow and slowly jumped onto the 3D. And here is one, Daniel. He definitely is more of a 3D designer, a guy who was always interested in 3D and was always exploring the options, not just of the virtual sketching, but Blender and Hypergenic and 3D worlds. But then there is also designers who have just recently kind of, I don't even want to say transitions. I think yesterday, William, in the New Balance talk, he said it quite well. It's not really replacing anything. And now I'm not talking just about Gravity Sketch, but about the 3D world in general. It's just adding another tool with which I can express myself better, or I can communicate the designs, the ideas stronger to the development, maybe to the final customer, maybe to a family member. I don't know, to anybody. Yeah, it's another tool. Hi, Daniel. Great that you're joining.
Hey, Daniel.
I hope the Boston team is also going to join. Chris, come on, raise your hands and put the camera on. We want to see you guys.
Don't be shy. So what are the challenges? I mean, you've shown all of this really amazing work, and you've just said that, going into 3D little by little starts making more sense because it allows people to have a much richer conversation. People that are not necessarily just designers, but like everyone in the pipeline of bringing a shoe to life, right? And so, but it's still kind of like a long way, right? Like this is all very kind of like beautiful, and like, we would live in a perfect world maybe in a few years, but what are the roadblocks that you've been seeing and that you see still a little bit for this kind of workflow to really permeate the industry?
So yeah, in the bigger picture, like with like communicating, for example, with product line managers or development, this is still a little bit further away, I would say. But I can speak for the design department, and for the design department, the co-creative sessions are really kind of deal breaker, because it is much easier to pick up the tool when you are surrounded by people that that you can kind of play around with, and it becomes this virtual studio, like a fluid kind of environment, not really bound by the rules of the physical world. So, I mean, it would be so hard to have a conversation with Danny, being him being in Japan, in Tokyo. But I can just write him a message on Teams, and in 2 minutes we can be in this virtual space. I can be showing him my sketch, and he can be just copying it and sketching further on top of it. I think the co-creation is a great tool that helps to bridge any. I would say like roadblocks in the sense of like, I'm kind of shy. I don't want to go into the 3D because it seems too complex, or it seems not playful enough. It seems, too much of a hassle before I would achieve anything. So co-creation breaks the barriers. Daniel, what would you say?
Yeah, I think one of the funny things about the footwear industry is that it hasn't changed a whole lot. Like yes, we use digital tools, but in the end, you're kind of packaging this file and then sending it off to another country where it gets reinterpreted. And so it's a challenge, right? And so I think one of the benefits of 3D is that you can hopefully communicate more clearly. It might not be a full-blown model, but like Joseph showed some of like the stud geometry stuff I did, just so I could talk to my engineer and say, this is what I'm thinking about when I, this is what I'm trying to communicate to you. It's easier to just do, mock it up quickly in 3D kind of roughly to say like, can we manufacture this? Can we do this? And so I think it's a tool, and then understanding like where you can plug it in into that existing process, and then also see where you can start to like disrupt and ask questions and say, well, why do we always do it that way? Is there a way to go from this to this and skip that? And so, yeah, it's a bit challenging just because you could model up the whole thing in 3D, but the factory will probably redo it themselves because that's their process. But yeah, so I think it's a tool, and there's ways to start disrupting and asking questions and pushing back on kind of a old process.
Nice. I like that. And I really like that it's really all about communication. I mean, at the end of the day, everything that we're looking to do as designers is just communicate what's in here, right?
And also maybe I did not highlight it enough in the presentation. It's also about like doing the little doodling, I think, in the virtual space. Like, one goes on the, ArtStation, on Behance, on Instagram, and sees this like final renders. But the proof of the tool working is that I go in there for 5 minutes and just like sketch it out, like very quickly, like for myself, to visualize it, to share it with the guy that sits next to me. This is the core of the tool, I would say. Hey, Chris, amazing that you're joining.
Yes, Shana's here too.
Hello.
Here we go.
Also
Hello.
here in Boston. So, and some people have been coming in and out, but overall we've been listening, and that was a great presentation.
Yeah, and I mean, something that you mentioned quite a bit is fun, the element of fun, which sometimes we forget to consider. But, we go into design because we love it, right? We want to have fun. We're fun people. And sometimes like bringing that word into a tool, like into a serious workflow for a company, sometimes it's almost forbidden. But I really like that you kept mentioning it, because it feels like you guys are really trying to enjoy this, because it will allow you to make better products.
And I try to kind of translate it into the initial video in this teaser. It is kind of fooling around. I mean, the example of the Cyclops, the sunglasses for Cyclops. I mean, this is not serious, but you're working on the project, you're kind of stuck, and then you go for an hour and do this creative exercise, it kind of opens you up. And it's not nothing to design the sunglasses. You kind of start thinking about, like, why do we do it around the ears? Why don't we do it over the head? Like, it is, like, for me, those are golden moments. They are fun to do.
Nice.
Chris is bored.
Well,
Chris, what is fun for
yeah,
you?
Chris, cheer up. It's late for these guys, not so late for you.
No, I think I agree with the points that were made, and I think in the past with other 3D software, 3D was where you would take an existing idea and execute it, but then I think we found through Gravity Sketch that is also a way to do ideation directly into 3D. So you don't need to bring in an existing idea. Obviously, you can, but you can also ideate in 3D, which obviously allows you many more solutions than if you're just on a flat 2D piece of paper.
100% agree with that.
Very true.
Cool. All right. So we have some questions from the audience, but first I would love to bring our guest speaker for the Q&A session, Jose Monroy, to join us. Hey, Jose.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hello, Jose.
Hey.
So, Jose, you probably have some questions for them.
Yes, most definitely. I mean, I want to say, first of all, like, awesome presentation. It's really great to see all the different things that you guys are working on as a team, how much you're investing time into using Gravity Sketch, within a company. So that's really cool. I guess for my first question is sort of related to that. How much are you guys implementing that tool within your workflow? And does it specifically pertain to maybe a stage in the pipeline that you guys are mostly using it? Or is it sort of whenever it fits, that's when you guys are going to use it?
So I think I can answer this question. I think we try to do it as natural as possible. So try not to force anything and try to give people the opportunity to try the headsets, to try to join the co-creative sessions. Now we have the support from Gravity Sketch. You guys come to us, come to Germany, do the trainings. It's more of a natural kind of growth into the workflow. There are some people who are further in the implementation. I mean, you are looking at the two of them, or maybe the guys I have mentioned in the presentation. But it's definitely not forced. It's another tool that is offered to as many designers as possible. Yeah.
Gotcha. That's really cool. And then I'm assuming, so you presented the team. So everyone in the team is already doing Gravity Sketch at the moment?
So I think this I did not highlight well in the presentation. One thing that the Gravity Sketch does very well as well, it kind of brings people across departments together. So now here is Shirley. Shirley works for the Team Sport BU. Chris works for the same BU, but is in Boston. We normally don't talk, but through Gravity Sketch, we kind of connect and create this new team working in this virtual studio. So I would say this is another strength. It's not really a case, or at least I don't know about the case. I mean, the running team is quite compact and they have lots of experience in Gravity Sketch as well. But normally it's this, like, a person from one department, two people from a different department. And it actually gives opportunities to develop a cross BU project or work on something that is not completely in the classical stream of work. Yeah, but the guys you have seen in the presentations, those guys are working with Gravity Sketch quite regularly, I would say. I hope.
I've seen the work of a couple. You guys are extremely talented. I guess another question is, when you guys are working within Gravity Sketch, I know you mentioned that you do your creative sessions where it's just sort of blue sky ideas. When you guys are actually working on briefed product, are you guys going into Gravity Sketch sort of in a loose manner, or are you going in there with a specific already sort of design in mind? So how open are you staying within Gravity Sketch when it's a brief product?
Chris, would you like to answer the question?
Yeah, sure. I think it's a very good question that I think we've talked about it internally as well. But personally, I think that the most freedom I have, the more likely I am to feel like I can explore more into Gravity Sketch, especially when we're talking about totally new projects that maybe aren't asked to be so much derivative of existing projects. And I honestly lately have been approaching it the same way I would approach traditional sketching, which is gathering a bunch of inspirational images, mood boards, and also to go back to your question, the brief itself. Like I'll bring that brief into Gravity Sketch as an image so that I can create this virtual board. I remember pre-COVID, we used to have physical boards and pin up a bunch of images, and I feel like now I try to do the same thing but virtually, because I feel like it helps me a lot to surround myself with inspirational concepts and images. And so it's really cool to be in this virtual space and literally like look around and see both the brief and things that you want to bring in, and then put 3D work into it.
That's really cool. That's really amazing to hear. I think that's like the ideal thing too, is when everybody in the team is sort of in sync and working together towards the same goal of implementing this tool. That's really great to hear. I'm also interested in knowing, I know you mentioned with the last sneaker that you were talking about, I
Unreal
don't
Age.
know the name of it. What is it?
Yeah. Unreal Age.
Yes,
Then
yes.
it's,
By the way, that's a really cool sneaker. I might have to look to see if I can get one. But I know that you mentioned that at one point you guys redesigned the tool within Gravity Sketch. So is the factory taking your guys' 3D model and then reinterpreting it into Rhino, which is what they usually use? That's been my experience. Or has there been maybe a project where they're actually using what you guys create within 3D?
Good question. So in this particular project, it was done in Gravity Sketch, and then Danny rendered it in Blender and shared the renderings with the factory or with the 3D team of the factory, and they have recreated it in iCut. I haven't yet heard of a project, and bear in mind, Puma is a big company, that would actually happen on the base of I've created in a Gravity Sketch, I have sent the 3D file to the factory, and the factory used the 3D file even just like to retopologize or to start based on this. I don't think this happened. It would be great, and I think Daniel was trying to talk a little bit about it in this in the first time he joined this session. It is a little bit of a sound of the future because the development process is a little bit rigid. But already the fact that the designer can communicate the 3D, the volumes of, let's say, of the tooling specifically, is a big step forward. Yeah, I would say. And it's very easy for the designer. I mean, this is kind of like a chain of thought, right? It's easy for this, or let's say it's easier for a designer to work in Gravity Sketch to express himself, and therefore it is easier for him to communicate to the factory how he visualizes or how he imagines the tooling.
Yeah, ideally that is the future, because ultimately, like you said, whatever it is that you have in your head, that's what you want to be able to translate directly, right? So and then my last question is in terms of when you guys are creating your 3D models, let's say it's I think you mentioned it was one of the slides. I think we actually saw images of it where you guys created it in Gravity Sketch, and then the actual slide looked exactly the same. So with the models that you guys create, are you handing that over to say marketing for them to use for promotional work? How else is that being sort of used?
Yeah, so the models directly from Gravity Sketch, I don't think so that they would be used for marketing. Maybe like initial sketches, so you kind of support or you show the process of the product. But then to create the digital twin, that's more of a work of the artist or the 3D artist afterwards. So there's the product is ready, and one maybe 3D scans it, creates a proper topology of it, applies the materials, and then it's used for the marketing. Does it answer the question? And the slide, the index Mayu that Lisa has created, it just worked out very well. Yeah. There was no real corrections afterwards. She modeled it on the tooling, and the tooling, or like the bottom of the shoe, was actually done by the factory. We imported it into the Gravity Sketch because it's a tooling of a different shoe. And then she just created or I should not say just, she created the upper, and it fitted perfectly. So then it was much easier for development to follow it, even though she just sent the 2D references to them.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, with that, I just want to say great presentation, Josef, and it was great to meet the entire Puma team. I know some of you guys I talked to in Instagram, so amazing work, guys.
Great. Thanks for the questions.
So we'll just kind of like have 2 more questions from the audience because we're running out of time. But how much time do you all spend in Gravity Sketch in a sitting? Do you take breaks?
So maybe we can all answer this. I remember once I spent in Gravity Sketch 6 hours straight, and this was too much. Normally, I think the sessions are around an hour, I would say. The ones that we do the Let's Sketch in, the longest one I remember pretty clearly was 6 hours. It was a long one. Daniel, what's your record?
Probably like 3 hours, but I love Gravity Sketch. I don't love being blocked out from the world for hours at a time. So I have to, work for a bit, check Instagram, walk my dog, get back in, your eyes and your brain probably need some breaks in there. But yeah, if there's something I'm really excited about, I can work for like longer stretches.
Chris, you want to answer it as well?
I think Gravity Sketch is actually a time portal because time goes 10 times faster than in real life.
That's true.
And yeah, it's really easy to like lose track of time. But I agree with Dan's comment about, obviously, as opposed to a computer screen, you can't sit in front of it as long. I think personally my eyes get really tired, so I will probably try to limit it to an hour and a half.
So very different. All right. One last one. Seems like a huge efficiency gap, and it's time that could be spent iterating and innovating more sooner. Well, which is not really a question. It's kind of like a comment. But
yeah, I think it's about the development and like the gap to the development. It's true. There is an efficiency gap, but I think, you kind of focus at what you can influence. And I think already those sessions that we do within the design team are great. Just like the pandemic, for example, we were just not able to really meet in the physical space. And the Gravity Sketch, I would not say it's a solution to it, but it definitely helps the situation. It creates some kind of a virtual studio in which, to kind of follow up on the comment from Daniela, you can have fun. And that's why we are designers, because we want to have fun. It is fun to design shoe, to kind of bring the idea from your fantasy into some something that you can talk about with other people. And Gravity Sketch, especially through the co-creation, really provides this. So I would say, just go and sketch, doodle around, play with the tool. Don't focus at the polished final visual. It's gonna come somehow eventually. The doodling, and this is the meat, the core of the.
And just one comment in terms of like efficiencies, going back and forth with the factory, like the traditional thing to do is to draw flat technical drawings of the bottom, the lateral, the medial, so 2D assets, and then have someone else interpret it, then 3D print it, look at it, make corrections again in 2D, and you go back and forth doing that, and that's a pretty inefficient process. So theoretically, best case scenario, if you could include some kind of digital asset that isn't something that could get manufactured in terms of like, tolerances of materials and releasing in a mold and those kinds of things, but you say like, this is the geometry, and you can move it around and understand what it is. You could theoretically get to the final product faster than going back and forth from 2D to 3D to 2D to 3D.
Yeah, hopefully one day in the ideal world that will happen. Everybody speaking the same language in a way, right? Communicating through 3D. Ultimately, that's at least that's the goal for Gravity Sketch. It's not really about creating a final model. It's really just about enabling everyone to be having a three-dimensional conversation so that ideas move faster, and products get made even better. And so I thought I would just leave with this kind of like final thing that I was thinking when you were talking about this, Joseph. I think it's kind of like really cool, and I really look forward to see how the world starts to shift. When you were saying that the team in Boston and the team in Germany are starting to collaborate, where sometimes like in the past that wasn't the case. So I really wonder how this is going to start changing now that we start kind of like jumping more into these sort of tools, and maybe we won't necessarily have to be all in the same space, but we'll be able to create all together.